Welcome to our second Career Week panel in the series of our Career Week speakers. We're really excited to have you here. I'm going to start with just a brief overview of what we have planned over the course of the next few days. So for us, it's a new initiative. Career Week is something we've been really excited about preparing for. The Road to College and Career team works at every high school campus to help our scholars think about their college and career choices after high school. So we all know that high school is not the finish line. There's lots of opportunities to think about what jobs and what roles you want to explore, your passions, how much money you want to make, how to make an impact in your community, in the world, and beyond. And so Career Week is a time that we really focus on exposure to those opportunities. And so we have a panel, it's where we're at today, that focuses on careers in liberal arts, media, marketing, and communication. And so I know we have a lot of different scholars across the network that are interested in those types of roles. So we have panelists here to talk about those roles and how they got there. So we're excited for Career Week. Me and my team are really excited for this panel. And we will start, of course, we're at the welcome and overview. We'll let our panelists take over after that and talk to you guys about what they do at their jobs, how they got there, and anything else you might want to know. So we'll follow up with some scholar Q&A. So unfortunately, we can't have all 300 plus of you on screen, but we do have some Uplift scholars here that are going to represent our Uplift campuses and be able to ask some questions on behalf of you all. So keep that in mind. So there is a Q&A button on your screen. If you're on your Chromebook or your phone, you should be able to see the Q&A box. And when you use that box, you'll ask a question, and when it comes time for scholar questions, you'll be able to get your question answered. Again, the chat box will be off at that point, so just keep in mind to look out for that Q&A box if you have a question. And okay, so I'm gonna take my time and hand it off to our panelists to introduce themselves. We'll go in order, so just clockwise, starting with Hope.
Sure. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Hope Cooper Buckner. I am really excited to be with you all today. I serve as an associate vice president at DVL Siegenballer, which my family still asks how to spell and pronounce. There's lots of vowels in order there. But DVL is basically a PR agency, a communications agency that exists to support organizations across the world in the goals that they have set out to achieve within their own communities. So I work completely within our healthcare practice. So all of my clients are related to healthcare one way or another, all along the healthcare spectrum. Everyone from doctors who see patients every day to insurance companies who help pay for healthcare coverage to community-based organizations that provide really great essential services to our community members who may not have access to healthcare otherwise. So as you can imagine, in the pandemic, the last year or so has provided a new opportunities to be innovative and dream really big and make really important changes across our healthcare spectrum throughout the world. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do every day.
Thank you, Hope. So we'll go clockwise. So Jared.
Hey guys, my name is Jaron Collins and I own JCI Creatives. JCI Creatives is a photography video production firm here in Dallas, Texas. So we specifically work with content creation. So that's doing anything from graduation photos to corporate gigs like creating videos for Toyota and even working with President Barack Obama. So I've been at it for about 10 years. I love it. I get up and do it every day and excited to tell you guys more about it for today.
Thanks, Jaron. And I will plug Jaron is a kind of a combo because he's an entrepreneur and in the media space. And so I know a lot of scholars say, I want to own my own business. So if you have questions about that, we have someone who kind of does both. So Harriet, and then we'll just wrap up in that way.
Hi, my name is Harriet Yubatovaclis. I am a project and process improvement manager at a law firm, Greenberg Traurig. What that means is that I do kind of two different jobs. I sit down with people and have them tell me about what they're doing, why they're doing it, and then kind of mapping it out to see where we can improve some of the process. And then I also function as a project manager, which is people come to me, they say, I want X, Y, and Z to happen, and then I help them put together a plan for how to make all those items happen and help kind of keep everyone on the same page and make sure things are moving along.
Hi, my name is Parker. I live in Los Angeles, California, and I work for a company called Ipsy, which is a makeup subscription company, but they also own a few different types of companies under the same umbrella. And I work as primarily a video content producer. So I am coming up with concepts, working with talent on set, shooting things, and managing all of the post-production process. And then all of those things go on social. Sometimes they end up in ads or on the actual Ipsy website. So they have been there since October and living in LA for almost 6 years now.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Kern. So excited to be here today. I'm the manager of art and also art programming at North Park Center. I think as many of us do in the art world, I kind of end up wearing many hats in this role. For instance, I manage all of the rotating art exhibitions on view at the center, any sort of partner exhibitions that we may have, also manage and cultivate programming, art programming, and any art related events at the center. And then sort of as an offshoot to that, I also help to maintain what I call the permanent art collection on view, which is all of the exciting sculptures and artwork you see throughout the shopping center. Some of you may be familiar with my role just because I have a wonderful partnership with Uplift. So we do, on typical circumstances, of course not this year, but usually we host art tours at the center. And then we also do an annual Uplift art exhibition that I help to manage as well. So excited to be here and excited to talk a little bit more about all of that stuff as we go along.
All right, let's get started. I see a few scholars are raising their hand. I just want to remind you guys, use the Q&A box to type your question if you have it, if you have a question. So I don't want to overlook that your hand is raised, but we can't, we're not able to come off mute. So just use the Q&A box. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Hendricks.
Looks like I'm muted, which would happen, but we are going to go ahead and get started with a quick little way to get to know our panelists even more before we actually dive into some real questions. If you joined us last, or I guess a few days ago for our first panel, then you sort of know what is about to happen, but we have some rapid fire questions that I am going to be asking our panelists. And then scholars, for those of you that are here, you can go ahead and start answering those now. They should have just popped up on your screen. But our first question is, would you rather live without your phone for 2 weeks or your computer for a month? And I'm going to give this question to Jaren and Harriet. So I hope you have your answers ready. And then Jaren, you can answer first. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I kind of knew I was going first on this one. I think this is tough. I think for the betterment of my life, because I do need my computer to operate my business and feed myself every month, I'm going to keep the computer and let go of the phone. I can definitely check Instagram from my computer. So I'm going to go with, I'd rather live without my phone for 2 weeks.
Okay. What about you, Harriet?
I would rather give up my computer for 2 weeks or for a month. I think I don't do, outside of work, I don't do a lot of my computers, so I would happily give that up for a little bit. I think without my phone, I would have a really tough time right now, not being able to connect with friends, family, being able to FaceTime with anyone that I know, really.
Awesome. And then as the results are coming in, I'll share those too. But for now, it looks like without my computer is winning with our scholars, is what they would rather go without for a month. And then we will go on to the next question, which is, would you rather only use Netflix or only use Hulu? And I'll give this question to Hope and Anna. So Hope, if you want to take it away with Netflix or Hulu.
Gosh, both are a part of my life, I'll say. But I think I'd choose Netflix over Hulu. I like Netflix's background of lots of shows. My husband and I like to start new shows and kind of binge through. I always say, I also am an adjunct professor at Belmont University, teach a class, and I always say to my students, I have to be careful how busy I say I am if I've binge watched like 5 seasons of Parenthood in an unreasonable amount of time, right? So I try to keep that in check, but I think I'll pick Netflix, though I do feel the need to say that both are a part of my schedule for sure. But I think I'll say Netflix.
Okay. Anna, what about you?
I'm on the same page with that one. I think I end up using Netflix more so than Hulu, but I think that I tend to watch a little bit more TV than I used to. And so I'm trying in the new year to kind of stay away from being glued to my phone and TV. And I know that's not the fun answer, but I'm trying to kind of stay away a little bit more so from those platforms if possible. So still watch a ton of Netflix, but working on it.
I can understand that. It looks like our scholars also are watching Netflix over Hulu. 73% would rather only use Netflix. And for our last question, I'm going to give that one to Parker. Would you rather work from an office every day or work from home every day?
Ooh, this is hard right now, obviously, because we're stuck inside all the time. So right now I would kill to be able to get out of the house and go into an office. But in general, I've really enjoyed working from home. I love being in my own space, kind of being able to do things on my own schedule. Not having an LA commute is really great. Not having to go an hour and a half both ways. And then also just getting to be with my dog during the day is great because he's such a good distraction when I need a break.
I can relate to that. And it looks like our scholars would much rather work from home, with 65% wanting to do that. So thank you guys for doing a little bit of an icebreaker. And we are going to dive into some questions now that the ice has been broken. And I'm actually going to have you all everyone answer this first one. And then from there, I'll sort of direct questions to you as we go. But for the first one, I know that you all shared just a little bit about, what your job is, what you do. But can you all tell me, what does the day-to-day actually look like? So if I am, Jaren, what does that look like when I'm going to work every single day? And we'll start with Jaren if you want to take it.
So going to work for me can look a lot different depending on the day. Most days it looks like I'm waking up around 10 because I don't like mornings. So I will say, because I work for myself, I get to set my own schedule. That's the plus, right? You get a lot of freedom. So when working with clients, I schedule most of my clients in the afternoon. I get up a little bit later in the mornings. And then usually I'm getting up first, checking some emails, responding to people on social media. And then I'm getting into either editing or I'm getting ready for some sort of event. Because I work for myself, I initially thought when I went full time that, I'd have a lot of freedom through my week to go and do any and everything. That was not true. I actually have to work with people like the people on this panel, where I'm assisting them with creating video content, or I'm on meetings and actually sitting in offices and talking to people about what projects we're putting together. And so it's been very consistent in that. But then there are also days where I'll travel. So when we weren't in the pandemic, I used to travel Monday through Friday, shooting conferences or working with big event activations all over the nation. And so that was a lot of fun. So I spent a lot of time in getting up early to get on a flight to go somewhere and do something, where I was working from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. So it really just depends on kind of the space I'm in. But the best thing about what I do is that I have a lot of control over, kind of how I want to operate. So if I want to make sure that I get a lot of rest through the day, I'm a night owl. So I might stay up editing until midnight, 2 a.m. But then I'm able to get up a little bit later in the morning to do what I have to do. And I can really balance kind of what I want my personal life to be as well.
Awesome. Harriet, I'll let you answer next. I know that you work for a law firm, but you're not an attorney, or you might be an attorney. I might have that wrong, but your function is different. So can you tell me a little bit about what that day-to-day is like?
Yes. I am not an attorney. I was a paralegal for a while, and that kind of gave me a good base as to knowing kind of generally how the legal field works. But no, I'm not an attorney, and that means that I really get to spend a lot of my day asking questions. And so that usually means I'm on the phone or specifically video calls for sometimes 5 to 6 hours a day, sometimes 3 to 4. A lot of talking to people, figuring out what they're doing, what it is that they're trying to do. And during non-pandemic times, I also travel probably at least once a month to go meet with people. We have offices in, I think, 40 different cities. And I get to travel and go, meet with people in their office and really sit down with them and say, okay, what is the problem that you're looking to solve? And then I try to help them figure out the best way to resolve that. Yes, a lot of, so my firm is based in downtown, or not based. So we have offices, like I mentioned, in 40 different cities. Our office here in Dallas is downtown, but the upside of being a project manager who works with people across the firm is that most of my calls are video. The in-person meetings really happen when I travel. So I can work from home most of the year. And that is certainly an upside. Dallas doesn't have traffic that is LA, but it is a bonus to be able to work more or less from anywhere. A lot of note taking, any call that I'm on, I'm trying to make sure that I capture everything that is said and especially what's promised to other people. So I'm still kind of old school and take notes on a paper notebook. So there's a lot of, having the call, discussing what we need to discuss, and then making sure that those notes go out to all the right people so that everyone knows, what's happening and what's happening next.
Thank you. And then Anna, I'm going to let you take this one because you work at North Park Center. And when I think North Park, I think mall, which I feel like a lot of our scholars might also. But tell us what your day-to-day looks like and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So actually, one of the many different things that I like about this position is that each day, similar to what Jaren was saying, each day is so unique. It's so different. I have different responsibilities and different challenges each day. Just to kind of give you maybe a little glimpse as to what that might look like. This week, I've spent most of my days planning for a gigantic, I want to say it's 8 feet by 6 feet and 6 different components, this huge installation that I'm putting in for Lunar New Year that we celebrate each year at North Park. So that's going on February 9th. So if you're at the center, if you're at North Park, come check it out. Just for something like that, there's so many logistics that you might not imagine if you're not in the art world or if you haven't around those kind of installations. But from everything from finalizing the layout to really making sure the artwork is safe and protected, since we are such a public shopping center, writing the information, designing the signage, making sure we're set from an insurance and budget standpoint. So there are different components, even with one kind of project that stretches all different areas as well. Simultaneously, I'm usually doing 5 or 10 other things. So for instance, I host virtual art tours every month. I host several sort of kid-friendly art events. Typically these things are at center, but right now, of course, we're doing virtual. And then lately, some of you may be familiar with Italy, which is the really cool Italian market that we just got at North Park. I've been helping them with a lot of interesting art programming to kind of pair with their wine and their foods and sort of to make it a special fit for North Park since we're so known for art here. So just a few examples, but every day is different, which is the beautiful part of the job.
Thank you. And Hope, I know you mentioned a little bit earlier about some of your healthcare clients and things that you do there, but can you tell us a little bit more about what your day-to-day is like and what your job is?
Sure. So similarly to Anna and Jaren, being in PR, every day is different and depends on the needs of my clients. But I will say the majority of the time I'm pretty much always doing something related to media. So a big piece of our work in the public relations industry is to support our clients through media relations. So that means pitching media stories for clients on the national landscape, helping them secure opportunities to speak with reporters, at big print outlets like the New York Times or the Washington Post, the Boston Globe, at large broadcast outlets like Good Morning America or the Today Show, CNN, et cetera. So we do a lot of media relations with clients. I also do a lot of crisis communication. So helping clients navigate when something goes wrong, right? As we know in our personal lives, there's always opportunities for challenges, but challenges just allow us to fix a problem we didn't know we had and become better on the other end. So our strategy is to really spend a lot of time with clients to help understand their business so that when a challenge, a crisis comes, because it will come one way or another, we're ready and prepared to support them through that process. We also do, of course, a lot of event planning and social media. We do a lot of marketing, paid promotions. I do a lot of writing through all those pieces. That's kind of one of the key pieces of my work that's always there, is writing in one way or another. But yeah, probably one of the best parts about my job is the diversity from day to day, just helping clients figure out whatever it is they need that day to help sponsor or work towards their goals. So never a dull moment, that's for sure.
And then we'll wrap this question up with Parker. I know you are a content producer, but what does that mean? What does your day-to-day look like at IPSY?
Yeah, and sorry, they literally just started construction outside my door as soon as I go to do this talking. But yeah, so I'm a content producer, which essentially means that I am responsible for coordinating, managing the creation of content that goes on our social media pages, our website, and marketing materials. And it kind of depends day to day what type of project I'm working on. So for the most part, I spend my days getting concepts, whether they come from me or they come from another department, and taking those concepts and really kind of coordinating and mapping them out so that they go from start to finish. And so that may be researching information I need in order to put into the creative, researching for ideas, getting to know the products more. We have different products every month. We're a subscription service. So we have hundreds and hundreds of different beauty products that we pull from for our videos. And so I spend time getting to know those products. Sometimes we're working directly with the brand. So I'm talking to them and figuring out what it is they want and what is required with that partnership. But then it's mapping out and essentially going to talent that we put in these videos. So we work with anyone from 0 followers or subscribers up until the millions, and then into celebrities like Khloe Kardashian and Addison Rae. Addison Rae's makeup line is actually done through an IPSY sister company. So we work a lot with a bunch of different influencers to create this content. And so we map it out, we send it to the creator. And then because we're working from home, we're not really on sets right now. So we have very strict set rules right now for COVID in California. There can only be a certain amount of people on set. And so right now things are very, very limited. We're doing pretty much only celebrity shoots right now, and everything else is shot from home. So I give all that information to creators, and then we get on a Zoom call just like this and produce it out of their home. So I'm there directing what they're doing. And then once we get all the footage, I'm also then working with our editors to get that content ready enough to be able to share onto social media. And so I'm in a lot of meetings. I'm in a lot of logistics work of just making sure everything gets where it needs to be at the right time. And then I also get to be creative, which is really exciting. So I kind of get the strategic side of things that I love and the putting pieces together to make it work. But I also get to flex my creative muscle and come up with concepts all around makeup, skincare, hair care, which is like my favorite thing in the entire world. So it's been really exciting to be able to play in this area and to be in cosmetics, which is where I've wanted to be for many years. So it's a lot of fun. And sometimes we do have sets, like I talked about, we go in and we'll film with different people. The most recent one we did actually was with Halsey, which was really exciting. Halsey just debuted her own makeup line, and she's doing a partnership with IPSY. So got to be on that set, work with her, which was really exciting. So it's fun to be on set, and we are set when we're there directing people. So it's really fun to be on set and actually have that human interaction. But now we're just, adjusting and doing the best we can from home.
Awesome. So I think the main theme that I hear is that all of you all have jobs that are very creative, vary from day to day. But I am curious, and anyone can answer this. I'll take maybe 1 or 2 answers. Did you always know that this is what you wanted to do, or where your career was going to go?
Go ahead. So sorry. So yes, I knew from a young age that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know what I wanted to do as far as entrepreneurship. So like I knew I wanted to own a business. I knew I wanted to work for myself. And actually for a long time, I told myself I wanted to be a lawyer. I went to college and someone told me, you know, it's a good idea to be an engineer and then you can also go to law school. I don't know how that correlates, but that's what they told me. And so I enrolled in engineering. I was an engineering major for like 3 years. And I actually fell into doing creatives. And that's when I was like, oh, wow, like this is awesome. I really enjoy this. I really love this. And it feeds my need for wanting to be an entrepreneur. So I ended up transitioning and going into entrepreneurship as my major in college, which helped me out a ton. And so I did know from early on, and then I kind of pivoted over into actually doing this as a full-time thing. So that took a little while to transition, but it was worth it, definitely worth it.
I'll answer that too. I did not know that this was even a job. For a long time it wasn't. It's only in the last, I want to say 10, 15 years that law firms really recognize that they could use project managers. I think there's starting to be a realization that attorneys might know a lot about the law, but they're not necessarily great at running businesses, and they're not necessarily great at staying on task and really mapping out the entirety of a project. If they want something that's going to take 12 months, they don't necessarily know to say, okay, we need to start planning in advance and really work through the steps. I did think that I wanted to go to law school, but ultimately it was great for me to work as a paralegal first and say, I don't really want to be an attorney. I don't really want the lifestyle of working crazy hours or, worrying about billable hours. But I did know that something that I always love, and even I do this at parties, I love asking people about their jobs. I love hearing about their jobs and what kinds of things that they do in their roles. And so in that way, my current role is such a great extension of what I already like to do, and now I get paid for it. I get to ask people what they do and really talk them through the steps of, okay, why do you do things this way? And kind of poke and prod at it. And when I was in college, like I said, I thought I might want to go to law school, but I also sampled 23 different departments. So I took classes in 23 different departments. And that really helped me get a lay of the land and say, these things are not for me. Anything that involves calculus is not it's not my strength. So I'm not going to go into those fields. But it really allowed me to get a great grasp of the different types of roles that are out there and what kinds of backgrounds they might need.
Great. Thank you guys for answering that. We'll move on to one more question before I open it up to our scholars. And then we'll have them ask their questions. But for this last question from me, you all are in a variety of different roles that all take a level of creativity. But what are some other skills that you would say you would need in order to be successful in your career?
I have an answer for this one. So as a producer, organizational skills are probably the number one thing that you need to have, because you need to be able to juggle a bunch of different things at the same time. And you're kind of in charge of telling other people what to do, in a sense of like, I need you to deliver this at this time so this person can do their job. There's a lot of organizational skills there, but I think one thing that people don't think about a lot that's really important is being able to be confident in an authoritative position, because at the end of the day, as a producer, in most situations when you're producing videos, not always, you are kind of the last line of saying yes or no. Because you're dealing with budgets, you're dealing with all of the logistics. So being comfortable enough to say no to people when things are not going to plan, and also to take ownership of things when they mess up. That can be really hard as a producer. Sometimes you do take it personally, but it's also being able to step back and separate from that and say, hey, you know what, that was my bad, I dropped the ball, or hey, I need you to do this, it needs to be turned in by this time, and if not, we'll find someone else to do it. So it's kind of that being authoritative, but you still obviously want to be someone's friend and you want to be easy to work with, but you have to be able to be in charge and be confident enough to do that, and handle confrontation well as well. Being comfortable getting to a problem and saying, I need help with this, or I need you to figure this out. What's the problem? Just being confident and being an authority.
Thank you. So Oh, Hope, were you gonna chime in?
Sorry, if for just one, I would just, if you had time for one more answer there, I would say, I mentioned writing earlier, but for me, the number one thing I look for when I'm hiring someone, particularly like junior staff, is, and the best way I know how to describe it is just this like hunger in your belly to learn and figure out more. Like if you have a question, number one, will you Google it before you ask it? And you're all probably thinking, gosh, Hope, of course I would Google it. But I get so many emails from team members that are so well-intentioned that are asking about, what's the phone number for this client? What's the email address for this client? And I just Google it and then find the answer and send it, right? So that like kind of innate, like it's just naturally in you to just want to dig something out and discover and learn and grow, and versus just immediately asking the question. That for me, I feel like there are every other skill that you need to be successful, particularly in PR, you can learn on the job, but that kind of innate hunger, natural curiosity to just kind of like get in there and figure it out, that's the number one thing. And I feel like you kind of sense it when you meet somebody, and there are some questions you can ask to get to the heart of that, but that's the number one thing. The rest of it we can learn as we go. But like, will you Google it? Like, that's so important. Will you Google it before you ask?
Thank you. So I am going to actually turn it over now to Ms. Tia McLean, and she's going to have our scholar moderators lead our scholar questions.
Thank you, Hannah. And thank you to all of our panelists. I hope that our scholars are soaking in all of this really great information. I do see that we have some really interesting questions in the chat. So I am now at this time going to invite our scholar moderators to lead the scholar Q&A session. I'm going to have Miss Amy start with her introduction, and then we will go in alphabetical order, and they will alternate asking questions so they can either ask their own, but we also encourage them, of course, to pull from the box so you guys can talk to some scholars and not just us the entire time. So Miss Amy, if you want to just say your name, your campus, and then we'll have our other scholars do the same.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Amy, and I'm a senior at Uplift Luna.
Hi, my name is Anna Leo, and I'm a junior at Uplift North Hills Preparatory, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys.
Hi, my name is Mrigayu Ghosh. Some of my friends call me MG because I know my first name can be quite the mouthful. I'm the junior class president at my school, and I'm really, just like Anna and Amy, I'm really excited to be with y'all today and answer, kind of moderate some of these questions.
Awesome. Thank you all for your introductions. And like I just mentioned, I'll have Amy, you can start with your own question or pick directly from the Q&A box.
So I'm gonna read off the first question I see. So this is a question for Parker Roberts. Is the LA lifestyle pricey to have a lifestyle career there?
Yes. End of the line question. Yes, it is. It is definitely a town that adds up as well. So when you are considering moving to LA, you have to be very strategic about doing it and when you're doing it and how you're doing it. You will have to learn to make sacrifices in terms of things you might be really used to in your hometown, space, parking, I mean, literally anything you can think of. It is difficult and it is pricey, but it's very worth it if you're able to navigate it, in a way that works for you. It's not going to work for everyone, to be honest. It is one of those places that can very easily eat you alive. And I'm not even talking about the industry, just talking about the city itself. It can be very expensive, but if you're smart about what you're doing and what you're spending your money on, it's definitely doable. I mean, it's definitely something that you have to really consider before you go. I'd recommend having quite a bit of savings to catch you when you get there, because you will run into situations where you get a $90 parking ticket and then you forget to pay it and suddenly you owe $300 on a parking ticket. Not speaking from personal experience, definitely am. But yeah, just keeping eye on what you're doing. I started saving to move to LA by the time I think I was a senior in high school, and I moved right out of college. So have a little bit of savings. If you're lucky and have a family that will help support you, take advantage of that, and then obviously try to get off of that as soon as possible, but definitely doable. And I can always answer more specific questions if anyone has them later.
This is for everybody. How did you guys end up at your job, and what was the application process, and how hard was it to really break into your industry? I know a lot of us are interested in pursuing something in liberal arts, but we're afraid about, how to take that step in order to really make it. So.
I can start again. Kind of relating back to LA. When I graduated college, I had a lot of experience with internships. I actually went to an entertainment industry school. That was my major. So I spent a lot of time interning and volunteering at events. And when I graduated, it still took me 3 months to get a job. It can be difficult coming out of college and kind of you've done everything right. You've made good grades, you've graduated with honors, and then you get out and it's still a weird job market. But especially moving to LA, I think I applied for like over 300 jobs before I actually was able to come out here. It is a full-time job to find a job. Expect especially when you first graduate, I would say expect and hope you have a different outcome as far as how much you're going to be applying and interviewing. But actually getting into the industry as far as LA in general, I've worked in a bunch of different industries. So I started out in a music situation in college. I really thought that I was going into the music industry, fell in love with online digital content, specifically YouTube. So I worked in YouTube, and then I worked in talent relations, and then I went to digital production, which is ultimately where I wanted to end up. But it really is just applying. If you have connections, great. But really making yourself stand out and, doing the research of finding who might be your supervisor on LinkedIn. You can kind of take a stab in the dark and they're going to be more impressed if you have a name. But it's not as hard as you might think. You just have to really push and do it and not give up.
Yeah, I want to echo that. When you graduate college, especially, it's not like now all the doors are open and you get to just do the things that you want to do. I actually graduated and then immediately moved down to Texas and then got jobs at a temp firm. So that's really how I got my foot in the door. Is I started working at 2-week or 3-month assignments at these various law firms, and I got to see a lot of things, including, for example, I worked at a divorce attorney's firm for all of a month, and that was heartbreaking and crushing work. And I knew, okay, I might be interested in the law, particular kind of law. So don't be afraid to try out different things, and especially temp jobs, especially right after graduating. It's a great way to make sure you're earning money, because those student loans come due faster than you realize. And then B, to really get experience and exposure to the kinds of things that you think you want to do. It's a lot faster to get experience that way than it is to get a full-time job and realize 2 weeks in, oh, this is totally not what I pictured. I don't know if this is where I belong.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly reiterate all of those points. I think there's sort of this expectation and this pressure at times to kind of know, right outside of high school, when you get into college, you have to know exactly the trajectory to take and go from point A to point B. And I think for many of us, that's not how it happens. A lot of times it's more of an organic process. And really, that's the beauty of things like internships or different types of experiences, is trying to figure out where you fit within the industry. Especially for the art world, something that I've learned is, and I wish I knew when I was your age, is that it's such a massive industry. And I think a lot of people would agree in their own respective careers that there's so many different areas you can go into. And I think that's the beauty of things like internships, even in college, to kind of figure out what makes you happiest within that world. I personally started off studying art history in college. I ended up graduating and I got really lucky, just kind of through connections, and became a director at an art gallery here in Dallas. And from there, kind of realized I needed to go to graduate school to do what I wanted to do in my career, but really wanted that work experience to make sure that commitment was worth it for me, which I would highly recommend if you were looking to continue your education. So I ended up going to graduate school for 2 years, and then landing a really interesting position with a sort of private collector in Dallas. And from there, I kind of knew I wanted to work with the public and be able to impact the community in interesting ways, rather than just kind of focus on a private collection. So all of those experiences, the internships in college and and the work experiences kind of led me to knowing what I wanted more so, and led me to this position eventually. So I would highly recommend experiencing different things and experimenting as well.
All right, so for the next question, I'm going to address this to everyone, and I see that there's quite a few questions in the chat, so I'll try and combine them. So this question is about college, and I know a lot of us students are concerned about the next step after high school and kind of our pathway, I guess. And really a few questions about college, what college you went to and what you studied in college, how many years to get the degree that you were looking for, and maybe what degree you think would be helpful for a career like this, maybe some opportunities that you took advantage of during college. And this is a question that I had personally is, what do you think about maybe the relevance of a classical liberal arts degree, and if you think that might help, or maybe there's more relevant majors and different programs that are more relevant today? So if you could speak on that a little bit.
I love that question about the classical liberal arts degree, because you're going to get as many answers as there are people in the world. I personally think that as I mentioned, getting an exposure to lots of different departments, and my degree is in English, so it's not really that relevant to the legal field, but I think using a liberal arts degree and your college experience really to ask a lot of questions, not just of the world, but of yourself. What do I like? What am I driven by? What excites me? I know a lot of people say, don't worry about the money. I know for myself, I couldn't not think about the money. But noticing that, okay, medical school is not on the table for me because I generally don't enjoy zoology. Those are good things to notice about yourself, and then to explore the things that you really do enjoy. And if you enjoy writing, that helps in so many careers. I think everyone on the panel can attest to people who don't write emails well, and you walk away not knowing what they're asking. So honing your skills in writing is always going to be a boost. Learning how to ask good questions, as Hope mentioned, that was such a good point. Being able to find answers yourself, and then if you're still unsure, saying, hey, I looked this up, here's what I found, I'm conflicted between these two options, what do you think? That's very different than saying, I don't want to do anything myself, can you just tell me all of the things? So those are the things that I think really, for me, the biggest things I took away from a very classical liberal arts education was boosting my writing skills, and then learning how to ask those questions, both of myself and of others.
I'm going to interject for one quick second. I'm so sorry. I know that Ms. Hope has to head out early. So I just wanted to let everyone know, and wanted to thank you again so much for coming and speaking with our scholars today. If you have anything that you want to share before you do head out.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ms. McLean. I was just going to answer the question about college and really echo a lot of the comments that Harriet made. I think, and as a PR practitioner, of course, I would say this, but really your college experience is just one piece of your story, and one piece of that story is what you chose to study, but it is, again, just one piece, right? So when you come to me as a college graduate, I know so much more about you than the degree in which you earned. I know that you are resilient. I know that you are dedicated. I know that you went to class and worked towards deadlines, that you probably managed group projects that are often challenging, right? But you learned how to navigate conflict. I hopefully know a little bit about your extracurriculars, the things that make you tick, what is so passionate about you, what keeps you up at night, right? So what you studied is certainly one piece of that, but there are so many more aspects to your holistic story that help me learn who you are as a person, right? And those are the kinds of things that help you become a well-rounded young professional that make you attractive for the market, ultimately, whatever market you're looking to enter. Now, that said, am I qualified to be a brain surgeon? Of course not, right? Like, I didn't study anything that in any way would lend itself to healthcare. But I tell the story of healthcare providers every day, right? I support the people who do the brain surgery with my own expertise and experience, which is communications, marketing, storytelling, et cetera. So my degree is in PR, but I have a number of folks on my teams whose degrees are in a whole variety of other things, but their story, who they are, what they're passionate about, is about helping organizations become better and helping organizations do really great things. And so, whether or not you've written a press release doesn't really matter all that much to me, because you're a good person who asks good questions, who's really passionate. So I will leave you with that, but blessings to all of you. Be safe, wear your mask, stay socially distanced. Thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you so much, Hope.
And so I wanted to interject on that as well. So I went to the University of Oklahoma, and I actually majored in entrepreneurship and new venture development. And then I ended up getting my master's degree in human relations and organizational development. And I want to say that for what I do as a photographer, videographer, I actually did not need a degree. I hadn't taken a photography class until I went to school. And honestly, a lot of what I learned was through YouTube University and practice. But what I will say is that it is beneficial to get a degree. It's less about the piece of paper and the coursework that you take, but more about the experiences that you have in college. And not even just in internships and the organizations and things that you join and get involved in, but also with engaging the people, right? A lot of the people that you'll work with in college, whether it be in group project or friends that you make, and the interpersonal skills you'll gain from that are usable when you go into a world and work in business, or when you're working with other coworkers. What I found was I actually went into corporate America after college for a little bit, and my corporate America system was based on how we operated in college, right? That's kind of like the foundation of how people operate in the adult world in life. And so having that experience helped me a lot in how I interacted within my own business. It gave me key tools to be able to connect with people. There are networks that you gain that when you go to college you couldn't get anywhere else, or just from a high school. It just kind of expands your palette of what you can really do in this world. And so while my degrees were beneficial for me, I think fundamentally the best thing about college was the experience and actually being able to grow myself as a person to prepare myself for success in the world.
Thank you for that. I don't know if you saw me mouthing like yes the whole time that you were talking, Jaren, but I definitely agree with that. We do have 2 more minutes for our scholar panel. I think we are back to Miss Amy. If you want to ask, we may have time for 2 more questions, but 2 more minutes. I'm gonna let you go, Amy.
So this is a question I saw and I personally want to know is, what is the biggest challenge that any of you encountered on your way to achieve your goals of where you are now? And what did you learn from that challenge?
I have a definite answer for this one. So this actually happened pretty recently. It was within the last year. I worked at a job essentially that basically wrecked my mental health. It was a really unhealthy environment, very toxic. And I had a leader, my boss, who was very discouraging of my growth as a producer. And I really wanted to jump into that line of work. And essentially, my boss was someone who saw me a certain way and wasn't able to see me as more than that or as different than that. And I was there for a little over a year and really fought tooth and nail that whole year. Even though I knew about 3 weeks into this job that this was not a good situation, I, being stubborn, wanted to prove myself to someone who never was going to see me that way. It didn't matter if I, worked myself sick, or I never missed a day of work, or if I did everything perfect. It was someone who wasn't willing to see me that way. And it was really, really difficult during that time. And I learned essentially when I got this new job that there were people out there who were willing to see me the way that I wanted to be. And it was so much easier to make that transition when I started talking to people at IPSY and they were excited about the ideas I had, and they were excited about my experience, and they knew that I could come in and do the job well. And they didn't care about everything I had done at my last job. They knew I was passionate about makeup. They knew that I had the organizational skills because of the experience I had had prior. And they embraced me in a way my old team never was going to do. So I think what I learned from that is that you're never going to be able to please everyone, but also learn that like it's okay to step away from a situation, even if you worked really, really hard to get there. It's okay to step away from that and to try something new and to try something different, or to just like know your worth and know, hey, you know what? I know that I can be a great producer and I know that I have the skills for that. These people don't see that. So I don't, it's like having loyalty sometimes because you work really hard with a group of people. You think you need to stick with them and be a part of that team. But if that team's not helping you grow, if that team's holding you back, you have to leave and find something new. It may be you can't really leave without another job, but just to not let that, because I know for me, it made me doubt my own skills. It made me doubt if I was good at my job. And then coming into this new job, it's like I've excelled and I'm so proud of myself for being like, I knew I could do this all along. It just took me taking a leap of faith to say someone else is going to see that in me. So I think definitely knowing your worth, fighting for your worth, but knowing when to stop fighting for it as well. And just going to people who know that you have it from the get-go.
Better preach, Parker. I appreciated that. That was a good word. I think a message for all of us, even beyond the workspace. For me, I think my biggest challenge as an entrepreneur is me, honestly. If I can be 100% transparent, being an entrepreneur is a big deal because you make the rules, right? Nobody tells you when you're wrong. Nobody tells you what time you have to get up. It's very much like college and the level of freedom where you get to choose if you're going to show up to class. You get to choose if you're going to do the work. The same thing applies for me, right? I work with clients. I work with big clients, small clients, one person. I even work with the president at one point, right? And so you have to decide, like, how am I going to show up every day? And a lot of times you don't realize that the things that you want, the things that you desire, and the freedom that you have doesn't always align with your client's needs. It doesn't always align with, the expectations that other people have, and then there are going to be some times where you're like, I just don't want to, and that's it. And because I don't, and I'm sure it's like that in your jobs too. But you have to keep going, right? And so if it's, I'm tired today and I feel like sleeping till 11, you have to be a self-starter and like push yourself like, hey, we can't get stuck here. If you're emotionally drained because you're going through personal things, such as a worldwide pandemic, you have to say, hey, I don't get to stop here. I have people who depend on me. I need to keep going. Like, you have to really be mindful of your ability as a person to push yourself past whatever may be holding on to you or whatever may be trying to hold you back, and going into spaces where, yes, you are appreciated, and then also knowing how to navigate those spaces where you're not, and recognizing like what is beneficial course of action for you and how do you still provide quality service for those people. So it's easy to get caught up as an entrepreneur who's out here on your own, in your own head, and your own things that you need to do and what's best for you, but then also realizing like there is a connection between what's best for you and what you're able to put out there for others. And so sometimes you have to fight yourself, but when you learn how to master that and really understand that, you win. And that goes for your coursework, that goes for college, that goes for a lot of things. So
I love it. You all truly dropped some gems today. Like, I even got some stuff that I can take with me. And I know you all probably have more to share. I'm not sure if we have much more time. Hannah, do you want to wrap it up here?
Yes, I will actually. I'll turn it over to Camille to wrap.
Yeah, so thank you all again. First, thank our panelists. We will give you a round of applause with over 300 people. That would be very, very loud. So I can imagine. But first, I want to shout out our panelists and then our scholar panelists. So Amy, MG, and Anna, you were amazing. And then our scholars in the chat. So I see Jacqueline, Victoria, Humberto, Steve, Jeanette, um, who else is in here? I'm trying to give your names. Clarice, Nathalie, Brianna, Deja, Michaela, Neri. We had lots and lots of questions. So I promise you what we'll do is we will organize your questions. I know Jaren got a lot of responses typed out, but we'll send them an email. And so since you put your name, we'll give you the answers in email. So this is not the end. If you had a question that didn't get answered, we will try to get you that answer as soon as possible. But we appreciate you all for your engagement and for hanging in here with us today. We love doing this. This is the best part about our job, is bringing these events to life. Although not in person this year, But without your feedback, we aren't able to improve. So Ms. Hendricks is going to drop a link in the chat, and your teachers also have a link. It just asks you to give us feedback. You can put questions in there as well. Who do you want to see on these panels? What type of jobs do you want to learn about? This is all for you all. So give us feedback. What would you like to change? What would you love to see again? Would you like more of this? Do you want more lessons about this liberal arts, media, etc. world? So please complete the survey. It should take you no more than 3 minutes. And then we will wrap there. So you can log out with the last few minutes and complete that and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.